Although many of us would like to think that life's picture perfect, similar to movies where things always work out the way that the characters want them to, and there's always some happily ever after. The reality is that life's filled with many different situations, emotions, problems, and these things can come from various aspects of your life. It could come from work, from school, from family, friendships, relationships, health, financial situations, and the list truly does go on. This is really to just name a few. When things occur, one may begin to feel overwhelmed, drained, or emotionally strained. This is known as stress. Stress, by definition, is when an organism fails to respond appropriately to emotion or physical threats. In other words, exactly what I was previously mentioning, when certain things begin to occur in your life and you feel like you don't have the correct control over them, you become highly overwhelmed. Physically, stress can be harmful to your body. During this time you're experiencing stress, you really wake up your nervous system. Your body begins to release hormones, and it continues to release more hormones and more hormones, and those release sugars into your blood. Stress can really have some negative long-term effects on your body, your mind, and your overall spirit. Everyone kind of deals with stress in their own way. And although there's not a cookie cutter way to deal with stress, there are some ways that you can respond to stress that will help you. Talking about those things that are causing your stress, why they're causing you stress, the ways you can address it, may be one way. But if you're like a lot of people and talking to others isn't something that you're willing to do, you can always write about it. These are just some known ways that you can deal with stress. I think the most important thing is that you face it head on, that you deal with the stress, and you don't hold it back, that you remain positive, you're looking on the bright side of things, which is also known as being optimistic. If you believe in yourself and know that you can get through your stress, that is known as self-efficacy. And lastly, your ability to really get through everything is your hardiness. So I think that everyone endures their own type of stress. I think for myself, specifically over the last year, I've dealt with some really big stresses, family stress, as well as work stress. Some of the things that are stressful in my line of work are deadlines. I think that is a huge stress for anyone that works anywhere. You have to meet these deadlines. It's really important for us. It really dictates our customer experience, and as a customer service manager, your job is to make sure that you're always delivering a great customer experience. So for me, that's a big stress, making sure that I'm very detail oriented, making sure that I'm reaching all of my deadlines, I'm communicating with all the correct people, and that my customers are getting all of the correct information. I think another thing in my line is that, so we deal with heating oil, we deal with diesel, we deal with gasoline, and these are all things that our customers need. Sometimes our customers need these things at a time that we're not able to make happen. And so that can be stressful, to kind of disappoint a customer, to really not be able to deliver on the things that your company promises. That can be really stressful. In my own personal life, my parents have been married for the last 38 years, and over the last year, they recently split up. So that was a huge stress in my life, to really watch my mom go through the things that she's went through, and to continue to really be strong for her, but kind of deal with what's going on for myself. That's been really, really stressful. So some of the ways that I've kind of been getting through it, writing has been a huge thing for me. I think that that's been one of the best things to get me through this. And definitely talking about it, talking with all the people involved, as well as people that don't have an opinion and don't really know the situation, and kind of getting their feedback and really listening to their opinions has really helped get me through my stress. Stress is one of those things that if you don't take care of it, it can really affect you. You can become really sick. You can, it leads to heart attacks. It blood pressure issues over the last couple of years. So for me, I specifically know how important it is to manage stress.
So we've had a number of people ask some follow-up questions, and I'd like to address those. The first question was to elaborate on the body's physical reaction to stress. So we mentioned a little bit before about how stress can negatively impact your body and lead to some severe health issues. Your body kind of goes through these three stages when dealing with stress. The first part is your body reacting to the stress. And we talked about it earlier where your body starts to release these hormones that turn into sugars in your blood, and obviously that can be a huge issue. Once your body kind of goes through that, the second step is resistance, where your body's focused on trying to force yourself to go back to normal and kind of forget about what's going on. And during this time, your body's working really, really hard. It's taking up a lot of energy and, kind of draining you of that energy. And at the same time, your blood pressure is beginning to rise. After that, your body becomes exhausted. You're working so hard at these last two stages that your blood pressure goes up, your blood levels start to decrease, and your body starts to shut down. You start to see things like depression and strokes and heart attacks, issues with your nervous system. So, if these types of things continue to occur, you're looking at some major long term issues. The second question that came up was to kind of dig a little bit deeper with hardiness. So we talked a little bit about hardiness and really it being, one's ability to get through difficult times. To elaborate a little bit more on that, people who are hardy really get through things not by chance and, not by luck, but they're actively looking for ways to manage their stress and, they're really good at regulating their emotions. They face their issues head on. They are, out there trying to figure out things before they happen. And, they have just a really good way of managing their stresses and managing other areas of their life. They're in control of their emotions and they're actively trying to control their situations. But a big part of it is that they take their issues head on and then they use the things that they've went through and what others have went through as learning experiences to help them cope and get through their stresses. The next question that we have was to think about a time that I was unsuccessful in managing stress. And so I talked a little bit about some of the stresses in my life and how I, was able to get through a lot of those. But I absolutely have had a lot of times where I wasn't successful in managing my stress. One example that I have is when I first began working at my current job. I was so excited to be in a new field. I was super eager, and I'm an overachiever. So there was one week I really had a lot going on in my life. I was messing up a bunch of orders, and it was causing some major financial issues. So every day I'm walking into emails from my boss. That was they were pretty tough emails to read, and I was stressed. I was super super stressed. But the one thing that I did was I acted like I wasn't. I acted like there wasn't anything else going on in my life, as if I was okay and, my life was normal. And at that time, it wasn't. I was shutting out my closest friends, and I thought I could just kind of handle everything on my own. And I couldn't. I ended up in the hospital for a few days and out of work. And if I would have just faced those issues head on and, really dealt with those, I would have never gotten to that point. So that's kind of one time where I was unsuccessful, and the reason was I didn't face things heads on. I suppressed that memory, and I tried to act like things weren't bad in my life, and they were. Lastly, someone asked about additional ways of managing stress, and I would say that we've talked about it a lot in this follow up, but I would say that staying on top of things in your life and trying to prevent things is a huge one. Face things head on and stay out of denial. I think that's another big thing. But also focus on channeling your emotions. That's a huge, huge thing. Try to figure out your emotions and try to figure out how you can kind of keep them in line. You can also find activities that make you feel a little bit better. Maybe it's working out, maybe it's finding a sport, maybe joining a club, maybe it's singing, maybe it's reading, maybe it's writing. Really finding something that takes your mind off the things that are going on. I think if you do that, then these are some really good ways to manage your stress.